Hello, everybody. My name is Tiffany. I'm the Tipsy Artist, and today we're painting this really cute lounging cow. So he is adorable on his Victorian sofa here, and very simple, clean. And I've got this version of it with a really clean. I haven't actually painted the background on this one, but it gives you the general idea. We're going to be doing a smaller version today for our class. But I have it available like you can do a light cream background, white or black. So it's just really up to you. But he's really cute. So this is the big version. I'm going to place this off to the side now. Okay. So let's go ahead and talk about our traceable. I want to make sure I get it right in the view here. So I have another video that's just for tracing. So it'll go into a lot of detail on that. But I did want to give you a little bit more of a personal reference just for this particular trace, because there is some different shading that happens that will make the process much easier for beginners. So we've got our hard lines. So a lot of our paintings are just tracing around the hard lines, and then everything is just dropped out. So with this one, I wanted to make the shading part a lot easier for y'all. So there's a little bit of shading that we can do too. So it is very crucial that you do go ahead and trace over the shading as well. So we're going to talk about that. I'm going to go ahead and change camera views for y'all so that you can get a more up close personal look. And then, as always, I've done a little bit of a work ahead so that you can not have to watch me for a really long time, just do the trace. So we will talk about that. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started with our class. And by the way, as always, all of our classes are available on our website, tipsyartist.com. We have hundreds of designs to choose from, painting kits that come with it. All of your supplies have been curated and exactly selected just for this class, so you don't have to go shopping to try to find all the missing pieces. So we've done all the hard work for you, and it's all just for $35, which I've been looking at a lot of my competitors out there, and there's so many talented people out there, so many beautiful choices. However, I noticed a lot of people are charging $15, $25 just for the class, and there are no supplies. So we're charging $35 for all your supplies and this class. So really awesome deal. Let's have fun. Okay, here we go. You know me, I like to sell. Sell. I have to feed a family. All right, here we go. And switch camera views. Here we go. USB. Here we are. All right. Okay, so let me put on my peepers. All right, so here is my beautiful lounging cow. So your kit comes with this pencil too, and all this, traceable transfer paper, canvas underneath. And so just to give you an idea, let's talk about this. I only tape up at the top because I love for all this to be free and allow me to lift and check my work. I want to make sure I have everything traced before I remove this. That's super, super important. All right, let's go ahead and place this back down. Now I'm going to take my pencil, and for the most part, this tracing is super straightforward and easy. So, every time you see a line, you just go over that line. Okay, and then that will transfer to your canvas. Now, what's a little bit unique on this particular piece is that we have a little bit of the shading. So not only are you going to trace around the line, the hard line around all of that, but you also want to take your pencil, again, make sure it's just in the same position, and you want to go ahead and trace over that too. So I'm going to sketch right over the top, just like I see here in the traceable. All right, so that is also really helpful. That will help you know where the dark spaces are in addition to the lines. So because there is a little bit of a nuance to this in terms of the shading that I think is a little bit challenging for beginners. So to go ahead and have this kind of all placed in the beginning is very, very helpful. All right, so it makes it a little bit more akin to a paint by numbers in a way. But again, to me, in this process, it doesn't feel as tedious as a paint by numbers. That's my one thing with the paint by numbers. Those to me are a bit tedious, and this process is a little bit more organic, and in that sense, has a better flow to it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and lift off. You can just chunk this when you're done. Okay. Yay! All right, now, so this is beautiful. We're all ready to go here. Okay, so I've got this nice little visual here as our guide that'll be with us the entire time, our palette, water. Everything comes to you in the mail, paint kits, all this stuff. The only thing you're going to have to get on your own will be your bucket of water nearby, and that's it. All right, so let's see, fun. What do I want to go ahead and start with here? Let's go ahead and, gosh, there's so many decisions to make. You know what? Let's just dive right into the cow first. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start with my little bit brush. Let's talk about our little family here. All right, so we have our family of brushes. This is Mama. You're going to hear me refer to this as Mama. And then Little Buddy, and then Little Bit. And we're done with our pencil for now. I'm going to go and place that off to the side. Permanent marker always comes with your kit. Sometimes this can be really nice. You know what? I'm actually going to use this today. So I'm going to go ahead and go over the outline of the couch. The reason why I'm going to do this is because this way I can do a little bit of overpaint in the background if I want to. Especially if you're choosing to do a lighter color, that will keep this intact. And even if you do a little bit of overpaint around the outside, it will still keep this intact. Also, if you're doing the black background, then it will keep it intact with a nice outline to help keep that intact too. So I definitely wouldn't do this on the cow, but for this main shape here, it's going to be nice. And don't forget about these little legs back here. Sometimes this guy can come in handy too at the end. Just kind of depends on your style. Some of you may want this painting to have a bit more of a folk art look with a cartoonish effect to it. Just kind of depends. All right, so that's about it in terms of, we're going to maintain that artistic shape, but we don't want the lines to be too dramatic behind there. All right, so that is good. All right, so we're done with that for right now. All right, so we're going to go ahead and work in some of the shading here on our beautiful little cow. Now, the first thing we're going to have to do is mix up some brown. So we're going to use our Cadmium Orange. Now, I'm using up a lot of my old paint here. So with a new paint kit, when you go to unscrew this, you're going to see a little silver foil lining there. You're going to have to lift that off. Whoops, kind of adjusting my little nature sounds there. Okay, so again, take the silver foil lining off, and then you'll be good to go on that. I'm going to go ahead and have a nice big dollop, about a quarter size dollop of the orange. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to mix these two together, and they will make brown. So equal parts here, using my little bit brush, orange and black will make brown. More orange you add to it, the lighter the brown will become. And then of course you can lighten it in a couple different ways. Depends, the color will definitely change. You can add a little bit of white to this. And so there's definitely a lighter brown. There's also, actually, I'm going to leave that in the water. Little note about acrylic paint, it does set up and dry pretty quickly, so I'm going to let my brush rest in the water while I'm talking. All right, so we've got some primary yellow here. Also some cadmium yellow. Bring those into the mix a little bit. Those can also lighten that brown up a little bit, but it is a different look. So you can see how it's becoming lighter and warmer, but most definitely different than what we have going on here. And of course, also the cadmium yellow mix there too can also warm it up quite a bit in a different way. But it's warmer. This is a little bit cooler when you're adding just the pure white to it. All right. All right, so to begin with here, I'm going to go ahead and let's go ahead and start with another clean brush here. So I'm going to rinse out, do a little bit of firm pressure, spin it round and round and round. It'll help rinse out the paint out of the brush. And we're going to dry off completely here. Now we've got our shading already placed in, so I actually want to come in with a really dark brown for that area there. That'll help keep in the crucial parts of the cow, and that's going to be very helpful for you as a beginner to make sure that all of this very challenging kind of foreshortening and this different look that he's got here while he's perched on his little sofa. There's a lot that could potentially go wrong for a beginner if they don't understand where to place in all the shading. So that's why we have that done for you. So I'm going to take the little bit brush. We're going to go in with that darkest brown. So again, that's a mix of our black and our orange. Get a nice fine point. You can do a little twirl with your brush here into the paint. All right, so I'm going to go ahead, and this is the very top of the snout here. So I'm going to go ahead and work into that with a little bit of that shading. And as you're working into the paint, keep in mind that it can definitely, the bristles can fill with paint, making the bristles spread out. And then that will make your stroke quite a bit thicker. So if you need to thin out a little bit and have more control with a tinier point, remember to go back in and do a little twirl here into the paint. So these are the little nostrils here, our cute little cow. So we're just going to go right in over the top. And then this comes in just over the mouth. And we're just going to trust the process and go right over that shading with that darkest shade of paint, darkest brown. And you can see where I've got the lines, you can actually make that a little bit darker than the rest, even add a little bit more of that black to it. And then keep looking back over here at your reference too. That'll also help be a guide to know which areas are even a little bit darker. And this will be a good training in terms of how your eye works in the process. It's very important to learn how to see when you're painting. And the struggle for most is that they try to rely on their memory. And that can be dangerous for us. We have to really look at things as they are in the present moment. The memory will play tricks on you. It's not really how it is. I'm going to add a little bit more warmth here. All right, so the parts that are shaded, again, they're going to be a little bit lighter. So I'm going to gradually start to add a little bit more orange to this brown. I want contrast between the shaded areas and the line work. So again, I'm adding even a little bit more of that primary yellow to the brown, lightening up a little bit. So you can see there's little bits of darkness compared to the part that's shaded in between. This is a little bit darker here. I need to twirl. My brush got that clump with paint. Makes it harder to do a nice fine line. Little eye, saying peekaboo. They're so cute with their little eyes. Okay. Well, they probably have big eyes actually, but they're always hiding behind their cute bangs. All right, so we're going to go ahead and do some of the darker line work here, dark brown kind of shade in here with little bangs that come in over the top. Don't forget about that little twirl. Nice fine point there. Also, a little tiny amount of water mixed in there can help make the paint be a little bit more fluid and create a real tight line. See, before when I tried to make that line, it became a little bit fragmented. You see how you see the peekaboo with the white canvas coming through? It's a little bit rough. I need to make this tight line here. So I did that by adding just a teeny amount of water to the paint. Twirl it in. Nice fine point. Okay. Now our horns are really dark too, so I can go ahead and continue on. I'm going to add a lot more black to this. And we're going to go ahead and work in the little horns here. Okay, so we have matched, pretty much line for line in all the shading. Now it's time to really lighten up into those much warmer parts with more of the chestnut look. So I'm going to go ahead and rinse out now. And let's grab more of this pure orange over here. And some of that cadmium yellow. And I'll be using more of this primary yellow and probably even a little bit of white too. Teeny amount of brown, but much lighter on the brown this time. So before it was a heavier concentration of brown and just barely playing into the lights. Now we're switching and we're doing a heavier concentration of the lights and then barely playing in to the darks and adding that in. And then we'll start to add this into those lighter areas. And as you place this in, just kind of do short little feathering strokes here. Light little, almost kind of act like you're combing his hair. Now, as you do start to come in with the lights, I do recommend that you may have to come back in and play a little bit with the brown back over the top again to help make it look not so distinctly separate. Now, it is kind of a fun abstract look as it is, but if you want it to look a little bit more natural, then of course we'll have to come back in and reinforce some of the brown over the top again. And again, a little bit of water into the mix helps the paint flow into those little spaces. All right, now it's time to come back into the brown. And work that in over the top. And while the paint's still wet, you'll have a nice little transitioning play between the two. They'll softly blend together. And the ears are a little bit darker. So I'm going to do, it looks like the shape of a little parentheses. And then here, I do again little parentheses, parentheses, okay? And just light little hair strokes that come down. Kind of wiggle your hand just a little bit. Softly kind of feather that in. Again, light little hair strokes here. There's little peekaboo white parts of the canvas. Come back in with a little bit of water, help fill those in a little bit. Now we're going to add a little bit more white now to that orange and brown color over here. Pull that off a little bit. More of a tan. So we've got more of that white with the brown actually. And we need some lighter highlights in here in the hair too. So we're going to just add some water. Just going to pull that through tiny little strokes in here. Bring that in over the eye, a little bit of a soft curve there. Those soft hairs that come in right over the top. The other thing I will recommend to beginners too is that sometimes the Highland cows can have all of their bangs completely covering everything in front. And I won't lie, that can be a much easier way to do the cow too. Just don't even worry about the eyes, just have big bangs coming in over the top. So if that happens, you don't have to worry. That's actually the way a lot of them look. Come in with a bit more of that black over the ears. Pretty dark there. Feather in some more of those light colors again. Got more of my cadmium yellow here into the mix. And then just underneath here, we're going to come in with a bit more of the light again. It's a little bit lighter. And just kind of stroke this down like little tiny hairs here. Teeny tiny little strokes around the face, right in there. Really try to twirl the head of the brush out to a nice fine point. Do tiny little hairs right over the top. A little more highlight happening here. All right, so, and you can, their hair is obviously varied in color, so you can have more highlights or a little creative with that. All right, then sometimes you just kind of have to take a little break, look back and forth at it, kind of see how you're doing here. Don't forget about those little tiny touches of water and twirl it out. That'll give you nice fine point, and it also really helps make that paint a bit more fluid. And a little bit more black here for this little, almost looks like a parentheses and then another parentheses. And have that little hoof right there in front. And then there are a few places you can accentuate back with your dark black again, like over the little nose holes in here, bringing those out to where they're a little bit darker. All right, that is looking beautiful. Okay. I'm going to do a little short curve here, a little parentheses there to kind of bring in that little bit of hair that comes in around the side of the nose there. Kind of helps that little nose pop out to the front again. So see that? That little tiny, it looks like a little parentheses right there. Again, just kind of brings that nose right out to the front. Bring in a little bit of the darks, get highlights, and then I'm going to bring in little tiny short strokes with the dark hair. Got a little bit of white too there. That mixed with it made some gray. Okay, it's looking really great, y'all. All right, let's go ahead and rinse out. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and do the sofa here. And we are going to simplify this a little bit. Again, these are paintings for beginners, so we have some complexity happening here with all the buttons. We're going to probably flatten that out just a little bit here so that this doesn't turn into a slumber party painting. That could be a bit much. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do the shadows, and then we'll also have this dark brown here too. Still continuing on with our little bit brush, and we still have our brown mixed up. And again, recap on that: cadmium orange mixed with black makes your brown. And then of course we can warm it up in different directions with cadmium yellow and then also primary yellow. So still working with our same color palette, but we'll be adding a little bit more white to it as well. All right, so I'm gonna move over here, and first thing we're gonna do is still continue on with the brown. So again, orange and black. Let's get some more orange over there. Just have it extra. So this is the top wood part of the couch. Just going to follow that line. All right, and then let's go ahead and do the base here. So this is all just wood. So dark brown in here. And we're going to have some distinction with the leg that comes out back. So I'm going to have a little touch of white right in through there to keep that. Just kind of lightly blend that in. Little circle here. Add some white to that brown. Lighten that up around that circle. And fill that into the middle. Lighten that brown just a little bit. And a little bit of white. Slightly drag it in right over the top. And then softly come back into the brown right over the top of that. So that will help protect that being out in front, and then this will come into the back. Right, it's looking good, y'all. Okay, so now up here, I'm going to add a lot more white to this dark brown. So we're going to come in and do the creases here. That still needs to be a little bit of a shadow, so we're going to pull this in here. And I just realized I forgot part of the couch wood part, so we're going to fix that here. A little bit of water, increase. Oh, I forgot the wood part here. This is actually lighter brown too, but it's going to blow right into that. That perspective, there's the lighter part of the wood. Let's go back into darker wood. It's orange and black again. And then let's follow this right around. Get a soft overpaint and soft blend between the two. Okay, beautiful. All right, now rinse out. Now let's go into some of that lighter brown that we mixed up with all the white into the brown, because we're going to continue on with this crease here. Okay. And then we're going to work in this lighter color that I'm going to use a little bit for a little bit longer, and then I'll switch over to Little Buddy, I think. Touch of brown, touch of that yellow. I'm going to make a light cream color here, or a little bit creamier. So we have a touch of that primary yellow, a lot of white, and a little touch of that brown for that tan look. And you want to pre-mix quite a bit of this, because you want to be able to fill in all over your couch, and you don't want to run out of that shade, because it can be a little bit challenging to try to go back and mix more that matches. All right, so this is still a little bit wet. I'm going to come right next to that. A little soft overpaint. And remember that little twirl into the paint to get a nice fine point to get into these really tiny areas here. Kind of crisscross that out back and forth. I said I was going to use Little Buddy. I may or may not. A little bit's getting quite the workout on this painting. I crisscross it back and forth. And then I'm going to come back in with a little bit of that darker brown, and while the paint's still wet, I'm going to go ahead and go over the top again. So a nice soft fade between those two. And see, while the paint's still wet, they can softly blend a little bit. And do a little crisscross back and forth. Gets that fun texture in the background. Back over here. Let's re-wet this. Actually, I'm going to darken that. Too light. So let's re-wet this. And I'm just going to come right next to it and paint some more with a lighter color. Let's rinse out it. Let's go into that lovely light color that we made. And then we'll just come right next to it, slightly overpaint, a soft blend, soft transition between the two. There's some of that soft transition that I like, the two colors coming together. I'm going to rework that dark line again now. Crisscross back and forth, make little X's. There's a little doggy in the background here. That's Miss Ira. Let's roll this back. And I'm going to turn this just a little bit. I'm going to get into this little area here, and I don't want my arm anywhere near resting into it. So I need the stability of my arm being flat on the table. And then I'm going to work into this little top area here. Really tiny part of the brush. Just barely touch into that space, very gentle hand. Okay, it's looking great. All right, now we're going to go ahead and get back into that crease here. It is. Same thing here. This is that lighter brown, more white with the brown. And we're just going to go over this outline. We'll just do this one side so that we have a nice flexible mix between the wet paint. So I'm going to work back in with more of that cream. And again here. Just to be harder line through there. Okay, the rest of it's looking very nicely, softly blended between the two. So that's a great look. A little water, going for that light brown, again, white with our brown here. And then let's go ahead and go and do our outline. Rinse out because we're going lighter. One more of that green color. A little bit of an overpaint into that light brown. It's okay if it picks that up. It's actually a desirable look. Reinforcing the dark crease now. Going back into that cream. Remember to twirl the end of the brush. Nice fine point. And then we're going to reinforce some more of that dark. Still light brown, but darker compared to the cream. So we're going to come back in. This little area here is where the couch cushions separate. Yeah, yes. Okay, now I'm going to go back into the really dark brown. I'm going to reinforce some of that now. Add some water. I'm going to turn this a little bit. Okay. Man, he is looking awesome. All right, I'm going to do a little bit more shading here on the horns. I'm going to turn it this direction now. And we've got that lighter brown. I'm just going to place this right on the top of the horns there. Just a tiny little thin line right there. Just follow the curve. Just a little bit lighter on the top of those horns. And then you can always work back in a little bit more black and softly blend in with that. It's not like a stark line between the two. It's like a soft mix. Pretty subtle, but that's a nice look there. Okay, let's see here. All right, this is looking really great. So it's getting to the point now where we can start to do some of this background. I'm going to add just a little reinforcement right up there. All right, so beautiful. Now, of course, you can leave it very light and white. Really, any color contrast here in the back is pretty awesome. I know in the model we had showed like a darker black. So the thing you're going to have to be careful of if you do the darker black here. Let's talk about that. So you're going to have to really make sure that you come in light with more of a much lighter charcoal gray around the legs. So you have to have contrast. You're going to lose all of your leg work here on your couch if you go with that darker black background. So like you'd have to make a line of this dark charcoal here around the leg. And then you'd have to gradually get darker, see, and feather that out into your background. That's going to be really, really important, or you're going to lose all those legs down there. So, or you could just easily take your big mama brush here and just really feather in a lot of white with even a little bit of that cream, which is similar to this model. And you could work that into the background and just have a really light, neutral background. Other options are like, let's, kind of get crazy a little bit. You want to put this in the water. You could do a really pretty, turquoise color, something very contrasting. I'm going to grab some. This is Viridian. A little bit of that. A little bit of primary cyan blue here. And all of your legs on your couch would be completely safe with this color. Like you're going to get great contrast. So I'm going to do a little bit of white here. And first I'm going to mix that in with the Viridian. See how pretty that is. And then let's add a touch of the primary cyan blue. So you could be really bold and have like this kind of background, in there too. And then everything out in the front would be very contrasting and beautiful in contrast to that. So you would do your mama brush in the background, just kind of feather it out back and forth, make little cross strokes, little X's. You can also pull in a little bit of pure white here, crisscross that out. That's a nice little option there. And then when you have to do your cut-in work, then go back to your little bit brush. It's not clean. Hold on. Swirl it into that paint. And then just be very patient with the process. Hold the brush like a pencil and go around all those tiny little lines with your fine point here. And then once you've got your fine detail work, your cutting work done, then of course you could go back to your mama brush. Make sure you don't have water dripping off any part of it. And then you could sort of, feather this out. Feather out those brush strokes, crisscross back and right hand back and forth there. All right. So yeah, I've got all kinds of different looks I can do. What is my decision going to be? Gosh, it's a hard call, isn't it? Let's go back in with more of the white. Lots of white on here. I'm going to make it nice and neutral. I'll do some cutting work now. All right, let's turn this a little bit. Put some water. Let's turn this so we can see this better. Pull that into the light. So I've got my white, a little bit of that cream still, and that turquoise. And make a nice fine line around the horns and the couch. And this is that cream, same color we used in the couch. Crisscross it back and forth, and then when I get my bigger brush in, then I'll even feather that out a little bit more, get that nice and softly blended into the background. Lightly feather that out, gentle hand. Oops. A little orange in there, but that's okay. It's not bad. It's starting to look like one of those old Italian walls here. It's fun. Very, I say very provincial, but then I just went to France. Okay, it's all right. And we know you're Scottish, Harry, so what do you think about all that? Just gonna crisscross that out. Batter that up. It's still wet. And let me kind of drag that through and blend it a little bit. Getting to that point where we're going to have to do some cutting on, so we'll go ahead and help. Let Mama rest for a little bit. Let's turn this way this time. See, now my arm has room to work and not have to worry about it resting anywhere into the actual painting. So feel free to turn it a little bit as you're working. This is still pretty choppy down here, so we'll have to pull in Mama here in a moment and feather that out. I'm not liking how light that is, so I'm going to work back in. Put more of the turquoise in here. Okay, and then if you happen to go over some of these legs, just like I just barely did that a little bit, so I'm gonna reinforce anything that may have accidentally touched over here. Just barely. The touch-ups, real easy. Okay. And then as I kind of feather out some of this background here again, pull the bristles more over to the side, parallel to the canvas, light, gentle hand. Just kind of lightly drag that brush across. And some nice textural effects back here. Just crossing back and forth this way, horizontal and then vertical, or little X strokes back and forth like that. Right. So this is beautiful. So the only thing we still have to do is our little signature here. I recommend letting this set up and dry, and then using your permanent marker to do that. It's a really nice fine point. Or you can do it with paint. Just want to be really careful. Use just the tip. So do that twirl And also I'm going to add a little bit of water here to the black. On the plate, that's important too. So I don't want it to be, I don't want my brush to be full of water or it can make a big water spot. So that's my point, and then I'm going to go ahead and sign here. Tipsy Artist. All right, good job, y'all. Should I see one more thing I do? Yeah, okay. Sometimes when you take a step back or look back, you're like, oh, little change, little change. All right. So this looks beautiful, y'all. Good job. So this is a very simple, easy way to do this for beginners. Nice representation of the lounging Highland cow. He is a classic and a favorite. So I love it. Looks so cute. All right. So this has been so much fun. Again, all the supplies that you need are on our website at tipsyartist.com. We so enjoy painting with y'all. And we look forward to seeing y'all again very, very soon. But y'all have a beautiful rest of the day. Love y'all. Toodles.